Greetings, dear friends. In this lesson, we will continue the implementation of the search. Our plan is to load the latest games and products from WooCommerce here. And we will do this dynamically. When clicking on the icon, we will also send a request to the server. Remember what we did. We have a piece of layout, and in it we have an empty container. We need to fill this container. Therefore, we also have a JavaScript file in which we attached to the click on the search icon. When clicked, we display this container. Essentially, we will also continue working in this file now. We will import attach to this click. After this click, we will send a request to the server. We will receive a response with the latest games and fill that container. Let's set up such a condition for ourselves. First, let's wait for the DOM tree to load. Next, we will need some elements here. We will need an element for it, the container. This main container, we will definitely need this container. We will need an input, and here we will connect it with Q. Next, we will need a button. This one. We will need a close button. This one. And what else do we have there? We have this header changes, so we will also need its container. Here is the container selector for this container. Great. Next, the first thing we do is attach a click event to the open button. That is, we click on the search icon. We should display this container. In essence, I will redo the two lines that I wrote. I will now add my new construction here when clicking. And I will show our search container. So this one, I do this basically. And from here I remove this. Probably when we enter here, we will first have the placeholder and then the submission of the request. Because otherwise it will be empty and unclear. And only when writing text will we have the search folder, and therefore initially we will have placeholders. So for these placeholders, we will create a function, and initially we will display them. So here I call the function. First I will show the placeholder, then I will make a request. then it will proceed here. Therefore, let's create this function now. So let's look at the layout. If we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I will probably generate, I think, 12. Yes, so that 2 rows are filled, maybe even 3 rows. And there will be a scroll as if there are many of them. Suddenly, if we had this high window, well, okay, let it be 12 for now. So we will make. So we need to loop, essentially, into this container. Put 12 empty divs with a specific class into this result. And for this class, we will create such beautiful styles. Therefore, in this function, first of all, we will clear this div, because we will call this function not only now, but even when using search. If the query changes, it makes sense to clear it. This search result will store all of this by default. We clear it, so we refer to inner HTML and update it simply like this, empty. Next, we will start a loop. In order to generate these 12, we will create a counter. Our counter should work up to 12 times. And we use increment to increase the counter in each iteration. I will create this placeholder. Create element and specify div. Then I will assign the necessary class to this div so that I can attach some style. A cool class and assign it. Game placeholder, there's no need to overthink it. And insert it. This is the set result, hence the set result. Using append child, I add this created placeholder and this will happen 12 times. If I decide, when we already have games, in the browser itself, we will see, maybe we will increase this value a bit more, so that the scroll seems more dynamic and beautiful. So well, moving on, let's build our request now. Here we will need fetch, then we need an ixurl. We will create an object for ourselves. I will now show you how to pass this Ajax URL. If you have done Ajax on WordPress, you already know. So we will have a certain object, game store params. Let's say I name it like this. And I will refer to the field Ajax URL. Let's create it right away, so as not to forget. So game store params, we need to move to the PHP territory in functions PHP, where we registered the JavaScript. This game store, and along with it I can pass parameters using the WP localize script function. Therefore, here, write WP localize script. As the first parameter, I need to set this key, that is directly the script handle. As the second parameter, I need to set the name of the parameter by which it will not pass these dynamic JavaScript data. I insert it here, and don't forget, one stand up. And as the third parameter, we need to pass all the dynamic data in an array. You have probably noticed that in some places arrays are written with square brackets, while in others they are written like this. It doesn't matter how you write them, just write in the way that is comfortable for you. Lately, I've been trying to use square brackets, but I've been writing out for WordPress for a long time and by standard. Since ancient times, we have been accustomed to writing array names like this, so sometimes I write them this way out of habit. But you can write them however you feel comfortable. And here, I will add this one, Ajax URL. This localized scripts allows you to pass dynamic data into JavaScript. That is, if you need to pass something from PHP, maybe translate a string, make it a translation among, and in the classic JS file. There is no option. Like in blocks, for Gutenberg blocks, we have translation among them. But here, there isn't. So you can translate it like this, and pass it to the parameters. And consequently, through the admin, there's a URL function. I generate and pass the admin. Ajax path. This path is needed by WordPress for our Ajax to work. So, here, of course, it's not a period semicolon, but just a comma. And now, after writing this line, in my source code, there will be this object, and it will have the Ajax FRL field, which will contain this dynamic link. So, let's continue and pass the object as the second parameter. And here, our method will be post. Headers. This is a specific type of content that is often referred to as application. It is often used in various contexts, in many different scenarios. So, it's a bit inconvenient without autocomplete. No big deal. So as not to mess up. Now, from memory. Usually, such things are always done with autocomplete. So it seems like this. If we do write it incorrectly, it will just output an error. And we will see this later, gods. This action is the callback on the API. That is, the function that I will write, already the server part, to fetch the games I need from the database. I name it load. Latest games. So, and now we will receive responses. So, the response that we receive, we will check if it is successful. If it is successful, we need to make an insertion now into our result. But guys, here also we will make this insertion several times. That is now. And then when we write something, again, add. Then, if I write again, that is, we have not only this one request. There will be several of them. So it makes sense for us to also create a function. Let's name it render games. Games. And pass this data response into it. Then we won't have to duplicate code. We will just create this function now and call it for each request. And we will also catch errors. If an error is returned to us, we will report it in the console block. So that's all. As for the first request, when clicking to open, we have it. Now we need to create a function for render games. Here we will receive parameters. Just like here, we will first clear the container. Next, we will go through all our games in a loop. And for each game, we will create this container with a thumbnail. Therefore, we will create a variable game div and create this div using document create element. We specify a simple div. Then we will add a class to it. In our case, game result or game item. I think, well, let it be result logically, since it comes from the result. We need to fill it now with the data that will be passed in this object. Although I don't have the data yet, I will assume that I will pass an image, a title, and the cost to the game div. And in HTML, and here, I will have a link I will show the link, I will pass the link. Next, there will be a container for the image. I will place it under the key thumbnail. There will be generated HTML right away. Then there will be meta. For now, I will pass the cost and the title. We will create these platforms later when we add fields for them. So next, we will make a container with the class, game meta, and inside I will pass from 3 for the title, game title, which is the name of the game, I will show as title. And let's the price. I think it doesn't make sense to enclose it in a div. We can enclose it in PHP, so we'll just output it directly by key. Game. I will include price. And it seems that's all, yes, that I wanted to output. The body we made further. We need to insert it, so we refer to the container network result and punch a LT, but only already game div. Here, we don't insert ours. It looks okay. We have now made a function to insert these games, and consequently here we return when we have this successful response. From the side, JS, it seems we have implemented this. Let's, while we are here, also redo this close button, cut it out from here. Essentially, the search logic will already be in this body. And the opening logic. Here it ends. Next will be the closing logic. But we refer to the close button. We attach a click to it. If we clicked, then the main container with the container, we add display to it. And one more thing. Look, we entered some data was loaded for us. We searched for something, we received this data, and when we close, this data remains. Upon re-entering, they will be displayed again. If that's okay with you, then we stop at this step. But if upon closing this parent, we need to erase, so that upon re-entering, everything starts from scratch. Then, we also need to clear here. Here is the network result. In this step, that is according to my logic, it would be more correct to clear it so that each time we enter the search, a fresh, empty form loads. And as if newly filled, it looks okay. Next, we need this callback on the lightest side of the stove. Here I lost nothing serious. I'm sure I lost something else somewhere, some letters. We will test this. For example, the close button is gray for me. I wrote this in the wrong body. Here it is. That's why it's gray. Well, it's good that I noticed. Search, input. We haven't taken the values yet. Title element. We haven't changed anything for it either. By the way, the same story with the title element. Let's address it. We open it by default. By default, we will set it to the same value as now. This value, because when something changes, it constantly changes for us. The title thing is the network result, and it comes out. When we re-enter, the network will already be here. The result is needed. Kind of like this, you might be interested. And of course, not on the element itself, but we need its content, so we refer to the text content. Okay, for now, we will use the input a little later for the second request. Copy the action. Proceed. Why are you complaining here? Let's move to gamescore.pp. This is the PHP file that we registered in the previous lesson. We only have one hook here for now, but the logic is that all the core code related to this section, the game search, we will write here. So this is our pop-up view. Next, we need to load the last 12 Canon games. This is our cube function. So we create a function, control, inserted control by inserting the name of the cube, and it's worth writing immediately. Hockey for Ajax. This is action v Ajax. Here. From the buffer, look let from games, this is the first parameter. The second parameter, function dynamic name, and there are two, because for an authorized user, not authorized by WordPress, it is done exactly this way. So for two, here is the keyword, but when worth adding, the rest, everything remains the same. Now, in this function will fly in, and I will return a response. We need to create a custom loop. Now we will have a variable with settings for this loop. So post alt title. Do you remember this product? We have already done this in a dynamic block right here in blocks. That's why I can just copy the post port. We will be talking about not dynamic but static 12. Let's also create post status publish so that it only fetches published games. Probably I will not set them by the latest date, but will render them constantly. This will add dynamics to the site. That is, I will fetch them randomly. So for order by, I set the key to Randy. Now I will have the games query. For it, I create a VP query object with this parameter. You see, we are writing everything manually now, although in previous lessons ChatGPT did this for us, and it's very unpleasant to write by hand. At the same time, compare the speed and convenience. Next, we perform a check if games has posts when writing manually. There is a high chance of many typos and errors. As long as we have these posts, we iterate over them in a loop. And for each post, we create an object of the post itself. Now I am currently in the body of one product, so to speak, and I need to prepare a response. That is, essentially, I should have an empty array result. Therefore, I create it before the loop. This will be an empty array. And into this array, I will collect the elements that I need. And consequently, I will also return. I will too, I cut. And it will be a multi-dimensional array. And now we will carefully gather the keys. So, what keys did we use here? Link. So, for the link, I will use get permalink. PHP function, get permalink. Next, the next parameter, what did we specify there? Thumbnail, I said that we will generate specifically the image. Therefore, we can immediately call the function has post thumbnail. You know what, guys, I'm actually referring to his camera, and probably we will not create a post, but rather create an object in the camera, because that way I can get both the price and the image. So from here, I will create it like this for the product as the next step. And I will use this key for the image. Product, get image. For the link, it will go get the permalink. What else do we need it for? For the price, a separate parameter for the price will be required. I will connect the price. And the key in that particular, then this somewhere we will be transmitting this. Now regarding the price, we need to look at the documentation because we have it as a composite, meaning also with discounts. So we need to take the main price. Let's try get price. I honestly don't remember all the parameters. If not get price, then it will give us an error and we will fix it. So it seems we didn't set any other parameters. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. Here we create a multidimensional array. And each product, as it were, has these 4 parameters. Upon completing the loop, or if we can and should send the query, so we use the function vp.reset post the data so that it doesn't affect all the subsequent code. In the result, we have everything we need to pass it on back and forth in JS. So here, vp send JSON success. So we try to test and observe. I think we definitely had typos. Let's go to the website. Refresh the page and also open the console. We go eat the search and check from node defimer. We see why we have it, but defame because we went beyond the body. Here are our functions. Let's move them up so that they are within this body. So, our request. Yes, of course, we didn't close the network. We need this closure to move here. And this. And right here we will close it. Like this, as I just did not really notice when it was underlined in red. Now there are no errors. A request is being sent to the server. The server returned a response. Custom scroll is not set in the CSS style, but I will check through the source code, and here I get, you see, 12 results. Now, we need to style this and add a custom scroll so that they can be seen visually. The only thing I didn't like was that I didn't see the placeholder of, but they were physically there. Simply because styles are not set for them. Let's make sure of this again. Refresh. I leave it open here. So, I will specifically open this container. Here it is empty now. I open it, and you see it automatically filled with these placeholders, and Only after that did it fill with search results, and they are random for us. We see a different picture. On the local machine, here on Docker, this thing works slowly, and we will have time to see it nicely. The placeholder and those we are now animating with CSS, but when we deploy this on the server, it will work very quickly, almost instantly, and we won't see it there. Unless we have tens of thousands of products in the database, probably we will stop at this step and continue in the next lesson.